Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is September 20th. Boy, oh boy, Ohtani's 50-50. 4 teams clinch. Tigers tie. There's so much. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven, and this is the middle of the order. How are we doing today? Ladies and gentlemen, we've got maybe the best episode of the podcast ever since I started these. So much amazing stuff happened this week to talk about. It's been building and building. I feel like the last couple of weeks have been kind of slow, but here we are. We got all these teams jam-packed right now fighting for playoff spots, and it's shown in today's episode. It's going to show at least. I'm extremely excited for today's episode. It's going to be completely different than usual. We're doing things very differently. We're doing some of the baseball news first here before heading up to series recap and then continuing on with the episode as usual here, because there are certain things that just need to get talked about here. And yeah, I mean, we're in for a longer episode, so get your snacks together, get your lunch, dinner, wherever you're watching this, whenever, breakfast, if it's the next day even, because yeah, we're going to be here talking a lot of baseball to go over. And yeah, thanks for joining me along for the road here. So let's get things going here and talking about the clinching teams here and their stories behind each team. The first team to clinch a spot into this year's postseason was the Milwaukee Brewers. They ended up clinching this game on the Wednesday. So 2 days ago, essentially, only the last couple of days here. They actually didn't clinch it themselves. Oakland and Chicago played a day game on Wednesday. The Brewers' magic number was 1 heading into the day, meaning a Brewers win or a Cubs loss would have sealed the deal. And the Cubs did lose 5-3 to Oakland, and that got Brewers their spot in the postseason. If it made it any better, the Brewers later on, they walked it off and really got the party going. And not only did they obviously clinch a postseason spot, but they won the NL Central Division, the very commanding division lead. If you look throughout the other kind of divisions here, Yankees got a couple games still in Baltimore to go. They still have a series to play. The Guardians are 6.5. Houston's now at 5. Philly's at 6. Dodgers are at 4. So everyone's kind of in that 4 to 6 range, but the Brewers we're at 10. They have a 10-game lead over the Cubs. That just kind of shows you the difference of the NL Central this year. And Brewers have worked hard, and rightfully so. They've earned the spot. Flashback to March, April. I'm talking about Milwaukee coming 5th in this division. I talked about how losing Corbin Burns and without Woodruff and how this pitching staff was going to look different, and without Devin Williams for the first 3 months and all these rookie kids, and do you trust them? Can you trust all of them? Which ones will go? I had too many questions with the Brewers, and they kind of just showed me up. Rightfully so. I'll eat my words on that one. Milwaukee has looked good all year round. Of course, it always comes down to them losing against a team that eventually ends up making it to the World Series on the NL side of things here. And I would still be lying, despite everything we've seen this season. I'd be lying to say I still don't believe fully in the Milwaukee Brewers. Something about the team still kind of strikes me as off, but they've proved me wrong all season long. There's no doubt in my mind they can't prove me wrong more in the postseason. But I'm going to hold my doubts and everything for that later on. But the Brewers worked their way up. They were the first team to clinch. But they weren't the only team to clinch that day, because following them was the New York Yankees. Last year was one of the first postseasons they had missed in a long time, one of their worst their seasons in a long time, but they punched their ticket with an extra inning win against the Mariners in Seattle. And this team, it is also built different and built special. they went out. They wanted the big fish. They didn't land Ohtani. They were kind of in the mix for him, but they go get Soto. They trade for him, and he's been a huge difference maker in that lineup. Judge being healthy as well, and the pitching looked good. Of course, the questions at the beginning of the season was, hey, without Cole for the first couple of months, like, can they hold it together? And that Yankee staff did look good for times at the season. Marcus Stroman, Rodon, Nestor Cortez, Luis Hill. What a season he put together here. So the rotation kind of saved it for now. The bullpen, there's still a lot of question marks. You think they would have made more moves at the deadline. But we'll have to wait and see about that bullpen, but the lineup is obviously full of mashers, and of course when it comes to the postseason, Stanton usually gets going and hits a couple postseason home runs, so expect that. They're still trying to lock down the division, but at least they know they'll be getting some October baseball this year, and rightfully so. They've been really good all year round. Also, joining them was the Cleveland Guardians. They clinched on Thursday with a walk-off win against Minnesota. Of course, that's a big series they'll have to talk about for multiple reasons. Andres Jimenez, the guy to do it, a base hit down the right field line, wins it. And Cleveland, another kind of team like the Brewers in my mind, where I just did not have faith in them. I mean, the AL Central, I had question marks a lot of the time, and the season has been very fun for the AL Central. It's been my favorite division to watch this year. This week with Tigers and Royals and Twins and Guardians, I found myself watching, 5 of the 7 games fully and tuning in a little bit for the other ones. These games have been great. The teams have all been fantastic, and Cleveland has been the best one. There was a point in the season where, things were getting kind of close even. Look back, 2 weeks, the Royals were tied for a moment after a great series, and then the Guardians did what they did. They pulled away. How about Stephen Vo? First time manager, with the Cleveland Guardians, and of course managing since he retired from his big league career. In my mind, is a lock for the AL Manager of the Year. What a year he's had with Cleveland. The bullpen has been fantastic. The offense is great. Cleveland looks good, and they are built for a good postseason run. And of course, the last team clinching it with a very special game, and we'll be talking about that a lot today. The Dodgers have punched their ticket. Ohtani is the longest active position player without a postseason appearance. He has the longest streak. That is no longer the case. He will have a postseason appearance. He will play in October in his first year with the Dodgers. He couldn't do it with LA. He's been around the league for a few years now. And here he is, finally going to be in some postseason games. Won't that be a sight to see? Especially coming off the season he just had. Of course, we'll talk about that. But congratulations all to the Brewers, Yankees, Guardians, and Dodgers for all clinching their tickets into the postseason. Brewers with their division. Yankees, Guardians, and Dodgers still looking for their division. But 4 of the 12 spots officially claimed. 1/3 of the postseason roster is set. Speaking of the postseason roster here, and of course we just talked about the Dodgers, Ohtani has done it. 50-50. What a season for Ohtani. I have very mixed emotions in terms of Ohtani's season and what it means for the MVP and all this other stuff. But the game he had yesterday, just absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. That is what an MVP is, despite not playing outfield or being in the outfield or pitching in his situation in this case. 50-50, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases, and he did it with one heck of a game in Miami yesterday. 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 2 doubles, 2 stolen bases, 10 RBIs. Just absolutely incredible. I mean, this guy has rewritten the history books of MLB the last couple of years. with what he's been able to do on and off the field, what he's been able to do as a hitter, what he's been able to do as a pitcher. It seems like since this guy's come up, we've seen records being broken left, right, and center, and making new records even. And this is one for the record books that he's made himself. The first 50-50 season in MLB history, and it is no short of amazing. MLB is so enthralled by it. Their social media on Instagram, the last 14 posts that I saw was all Ohtani/Dodger related. So, I mean, yeah, that part of it, I won't miss. I'm happy that it's done now. It seems like every time he stole a base in a game, they had to make a whole Instagram post for him. And I get it. It's the way the game works, the business side of it, and you got to do it to promote the guy who, is essentially now the face of baseball. I think that's safe to say with Mike Trout, the way he's been getting hurt, and of course, some of these young guys. Acuna got hurt again this year, and Tatis still he came back from his suspension last year and all this stuff. I mean, it's safe to say Ohtani is the face of the game. He's the face of the world even, in terms of, it brings Japan and the East Coast of the world kind of closer to MLB as it's ever been. And this guy's been a really special addition to the game. And what he did yesterday was just kind of showing that why he put a stamp on, his legacy. This is going to go down with not only a great day for him and one of the best days of his career, but it's also going to be cemented in Dodger history. I mean, this was a very special day. It helps them clinch a spot in the postseason, and if they end up winning the World Series, the first year that Ohtani's here of 10 years, I mean, that's just going to be kind of scary for other teams now going forward. Of course, we remember how the Dodgers postseason worked last year, but of course that's without Ohtani. What will Ohtani bring to the Dodgers table this postseason? If they end up winning it, Ohtani's legacy kind of gets cemented already. He already is pretty much a Hall of Famer at this point, but a World Series ring in his first year with his new club, that would cement it for me. He's probably going to win his third MVP at the end of this year, and he's just been fantastic, and what a treat it is to watch him and see this guy play baseball. Ohtani, amazing stuff. All right, so with that being the first two big pieces of news here, let's dive into our series recap. All right, getting us started with Dodgers and the Braves. Had to finish up a 4-game series. They played on Monday. The Braves had won 2 of the 3 games so far, but the Dodgers blow them out in the final game, 9-0 LA. They end up splitting the 4-game set with the Braves overall, but they get that 1 game right then and there to start the week off. On to the other new series here. We've got the Giants in Baltimore taking on the O's, and the O's have kind of been slipping a little bit. The Birds need to figure it out, and they take a hit in this series. They get blown out in the first game, 10-0 San Francisco, followed up by a 5-3 Giants win. However, they do avoid the sweep and get a very much needed win. Thanks to Anthony Santander, a walk-off home run helps win it for Baltimore. They take it 5-3, and Orioles salvage the series, but Giants take 2 of 3 from the Birds. Red Sox and Rays. The Red Sox needed to sweep this series. They need to stay competitive, and they're just not looking the part. 8-3 Tampa, followed up by a 2-1 Red Sox win, but then Tampa shuts them out in the final game, 2-0 there. The Rays take 2 of 3 from the Red Sox, and with as little games as there is left, it's not looking good for the Boston Red Sox. The 2 big AL Central series, Tigers at Royals. Royals trying to chase down the O's, stay away from the Twins, kind of cement themselves into the playoff, into the postseason. Tigers hunting down a potential wildcard spot. The Tigers score 3 runs in the 5th and 3 runs in the 6th to come back in the first game. They win it 7-6 Detroit. Then in the second game, the Tigers score 2 runs in the 10th to take the lead. They hold the Royals to a 3-1 lead there. And in the final game, it goes to Detroit once again, 4-2 Tigers. They sweep the Royals. Very important series for them and very important sweep. They just now have to hope the Guardians can do their job and beat the Twins. So, Twins at Guardians now. The Guardians looking to win some games against Twins, get away from the Royals, and potentially lock up the AL Central. Twins trying to chase down the Royals after getting swept, but that's because now Detroit's hot on their tail, so the Twins are kind of cemented there. First game, Twins in the lead late. They're looking strong. Kyle Manzardo, the kid. I love this kid. A 2-run home run in the 8th gives the Guardians the lead. They hold it and win it 4-3 Guardians. Second game would go Minnesota's way. They win it 4-1 and even up the series, but there's still 2 games to go, and they're both very similar. The third game ends up in a walk-off in the 10th inning. The Twins scored 2 in the 10th to take that lead, but the Guardians get 3 runs. Brian Rocchio, the base hit, goes right by the first baseman, wins it for Cleveland, 5-4 your final. And then in the fourth and final game, it's another walk-off in the 10th. This one's Andres Jimenez, a shot down the right field. It clinches a postseason spot for the Guardians. They take 3 or 4 from the Twins, and hey Minnesota, you've got company. White Sox and Angels. One team is bad, one team is worse. The White Sox win it 8-4. They've won 3 straight now after that game, but it ends there because the Angels win a 5-0 in the second game, and then 4-3 in the final there. The Angels win it. They walk it off in the 13th inning. Both teams scored 1 in the 10th and 1 in the 11th, but the Angels win it on the walk-off and take 2 of 3 from the White Sox in the who's worse team. Obviously, it was the White Sox. Yankees and Mariners. This one's big. Yankees, of course. Baltimore lost 2 games, so a good chance for the Yankees to pull away. Mariners had the Astros face against Padres, so important games regardless. First one, Soto hits his 40th home run. He has now homered in all 30 ballparks. He said it in a quoted, I believe, an interview after the game. He said, "What a way to head into your free agency, having hit a home run in all 30 ballparks." And by the way, he's only 25. 11-2 Yankees there. Then 2-1 Yankees in the second game. They clinch a spot in the postseason. They win it in 10, and Julio has a base running blunder that costs the Mariners big time, and it gets a postseason contending team like the Yankees. You can't have blunders. You're trying to hunt down it. It doesn't look good. Julio blows it for the Mariners, yet they do come away with the win in the final game of the series, 3-2 Seattle. They salvage the series, but the Yankees take 2 of 3, and that helps them out as they try to lock up the AL East. Blue Jays and Rangers. 13-8 Rangers, 2-0 Rangers, 4-0 Blue Jays. This means nothing for no one. Rangers take 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays. Dodgers and Marlins. The Marlins open up the series with an 11-9 win, a very impressive win for the Marlins, but the Dodgers come right back, 8-4 Dodgers in game 2, and then how about 20-4 Dodgers? They clinch a spot in the postseason. Ohtani's 50-50, 6 for 6. We're going over that once more after this. Big win. Dodgers take 2 of 3 from the Marlins. Nationals and Mets. We haven't talked about the Mets yet, but here we are. 2-1 Mets. They walk it off in the 10th inning to open up the series. Starling Marte drives one down the left field line. Then in the second game, it's Luis Angel Acuna. I'm not sure how he's going to go by, but he hits his first MLB home run, the brother of Ronald Acuna. 10-1 Mets. They win it there. And if you thought that was bad, they go even worse because they shut out the Nationals in the final game. 10-0 Mets. They outscore the Nationals 22-2 in this series, and they sweep the Nationals. A big one for the Mets here because the Braves, well, they had a harder time with Cincinnati. They dropped the first game 6-5, but then they come back in the next 2 games, 7-1 Braves. They add 6 runs in the last 3 innings to kind of take the lead and blow it away. And then the last game, Matt Olson, a 2-homer day for him. They win it 15-3, take 2 of 3 from the Reds, but find themselves now 2 games back of the Mets. Of course, they still have a series to play together. Phillies and Brewers. What kind of playoff implications does this series have for the 1, 2, and 3 seeded teams here? Brewers open up the series with the win, 6-2 your final there. Phillies come back with a 5-1 win to even up the series in the And how about the Brewers getting the last game here? They win it 2-1. Jake Bauers walks it off down the first baseline. Of course, they had clinched the division with the Cubs loss, but this was just icing on the cake for their celebrations as they take 2 of 3 from the Phillies. A's and Cubs. The only notable thing in this series was the Cubs losing the last game to get the Brewers a division. The Cubs did win the first game 9-2, but they dropped the second game 4-3, and of course the last game 5-3. The Oakland Athletics take 2 of 3 from the Cubs. Pirates and Cardinals. 4-0 Cardinals, 3-1 Cardinals, 10-5 Cardinals. They look for the 4-game sweep, but cannot find it. It is 3-2 Pirates in the last game. They salvaged this series. Not that any of these teams will be most likely making the postseason unless the Cardinals want to do some crazy voodoo magic. They take 3 or 4 from the Pirates, though. D-backs and Rockies. This was a tough one for the D-backs because the Dodgers took 2 of 3. We don't know what the Padres did yet, but the Rockies had some magic in this series. 3-2 Rockies. They win it on a walk-off throwing error from Geraldo Perdomo. Not what you want to see from the D-backs. They dropped the second game also 8-2. They do come back and win the last game, though. Corbin Carroll, a 2-homer day. He hit his first hit those 2 home runs in the first 2 innings of the ball game. 9-4 D-backs. They salvaged the series. They avoid the sweep, but the Rockies take 2 of 3, so they lose another game against the Dodgers here. And lastly, we have the Astros and the Padres. Padres, they can get games on the D-backs who won 1. Dodgers have won 2, but on the other end, the Mariners dropped 2. So a good chance for either of these teams to come away with some games much needed here. Padres open up the series with a 3-1 win. The second game got a little rowdy in the end. Some stuff with Jurickson Profar. Did he get hit by the pitch? Did he not get hit by the pitch? Watch the video for yourself and you make the call. Astros hold on. They win this one in 10. Avoid getting walked off on, and that was very close and dicey in the 10th inning there. 4-3 Astros, your final to even the series. And the last game goes the Padres' way. They hit 4 solo shots. Manny Machado hit the first one earlier in the game, and then later on it's Tatis, Machado, and Solano. They go back to back for the Padres to add 3 more runs. Machado a 2-homer day. They win it 4-0 and take 2 of 3 from the Astros. Alrighty, for the game of the week, let's talk about this one last time. Dodgers, Miami, Ohtani's 50-50 game, his 6-for-6 performance with 3 home runs. What a day and what a game. It starts in the top of the first. Will Smith, a sac fly, but it's only 1 run. Top of the second, Ohtani gets a single, and that makes it 2-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the second, it's Jake Berger. His 27th home run of the year makes it 2-1 2-1 Dodgers. Still a close game, but it's the top of the third, and this is where things start to get away. Gavin Lux walks with the bases loaded. Andy Pages walks with the bases loaded. Chris Taylor, a sac fly, and then Ohtani, a 2-run double. 5 runs score in the inning. 7-1 Dodgers, and it's starting to look like that type of game. Bottom of the fifth, Griffin Connie hits his 2nd home run on the season. That's a 2-run shot. Miami is within 4, but not for long, because in the top of the 6th, Ohtani hits his 49th home run of the season. A 2-run shot to get those runs back. 9-3 LA. And 1 more away from 50-50 because he had gotten his stolen base at this point already. Top of the 7th, how about another 5-run inning? Andy Pages, a 2-run double for him. A wild pitch allows another run to score, and then it's 50-50. Ohtani, his 2nd home run of the game, his 50th of the season to go along with those 50 stolen bases. 14-3 Dodgers. And then at the top of the 9th, for some good measure, he hits a 3rd home run, his 51st of the season. So he's a 51-51 season realistically. 17-3 Dodgers. Tommy Edman, a 2-run single, and then Max Muncy, an RBI single, makes it 20-3 LA. And Miami in the bottom of the 9th, Nick Fortes hits his 4th home run of the year to pad his stats. 20-4 Dodgers, your final. Ohtani 51-51, but of course it's 50-50 we really care about. Okay, now let's dive into some more baseball news. We talked about the four teams clinching. We talked about Ohtani. How about we talk about Detroit for a little bit? Because I am now very excited for this season, man. Detroit, what a stretch of baseball they have played in the last 31 games. They're 21-10. They are now tied with the Twins for the third wild card spot. And just so you guys know and kind of realize kind of where they were, August 22nd, so just under a month ago, the Twins were 9.5 back. And here we are on September 20th, and they're tied with Minnesota. What a series sweep against the Royals. That's huge for them. They took 2 of 3 against Baltimore, 2 of 3 from the Rockies, 2 of 3 from the A's. They did lose to Padres, but their September has been very nice, and they have a chance to end it in a good way. Now, despite them being tied, if the season ended today, Minnesota gets in. Minnesota has the tiebreaker over Detroit. So there is still work to be done. You know, it isn't all peachy just yet, but still just absolutely stunning stuff from Detroit, from where they were to where they are now. They're on a 4-game winning streak, and 8-2 in their last 10. They are looking very good. Minnesota, you gotta kind of have to look at yourself in the mirror here and think, okay, what have we done wrong here? You lost 3 or 4 to the Guardians. You lost 2 of 3 to the Reds. You beat the Angels in a series, but then you got swept by the Royals, and you split a 4-game series with the Rays. That's how your September has gone here. That's put you in a position right now where, okay, Detroit's tied with you now. Seattle and Boston are still chasing. They're still a little bit further out and not tied like the Tigers are, but you still have to kind of wonder, okay, what are we doing here? Because, you know, we got baseball today. If the Twins lose and the Tigers win, guess who's not in a playoff spot anymore? You guys. And guess who you guys have this week? Boston, who is chasing you guys down. You struggle in this series, even if Baltimore, who's playing Detroit, even if they sweep the Tigers, if you get swept by the Red Sox, not only are you still tied with the Tigers, but then the Red Sox are only a game out, and Seattle, who's playing Texas, if they sweep, they would take out all 3 of you at once and then be the current third place wildcard holder. So it is all neck and neck right there, and with 9 games to go, every team except for Cincinnati and Cleveland, they have 8. All the other 28 teams have 9 games left. 3-game series. Cleveland and Cincinnati have a 2-game series next week. I believe Tuesday, Wednesday. They got a couple off days for themselves, and for Cleveland, that's great for you guys. But for Minnesota, I mean, you've had the postseason for a long time. You've had this wild card spot kind of wrapped up, and for a long time it was looking like it was going to be you guys with the Royals and the Guardians and the Yankees and Baltimore, and then whoever came out between Astros and Seattle for the division. Now we're talking about this wild card spot that's so up in the air because it's just one day. You know, you guys can play 9 games, and you guys can have the same record, 8-1, 7-2, 6-3, whatever it is. You're not facing the Tigers anymore. You're not facing the Royals anymore. Minnesota's last 3 games going Boston, Miami, and Baltimore. Not the team you want to end the season against. But, you know, Miami, hopefully that's a good spot for you guys. At least you're home as well for the last 6 games. But these 3 games against Boston could be very telling. If these 3 games go Minnesota's way, we kind of say farewell to Boston and kind of look towards Minnesota being that team. Of course, Detroit has Baltimore this weekend, so I mean, would you rather have them this weekend or next weekend to end the season? You're both playing Baltimore regardless, and they're trying to chase down the Yankees, so they're going to be giving it their A game as well. So these aren't going to be easy games for either of you guys. But meanwhile, while you have Boston and Miami, Detroit has Tampa and the White Sox. So having the White Sox at the end for Detroit, you can kind of just say 3 games go Detroit's way right now. So if anything, Minnesota is on the back foot despite having tiebreaker. Of course, we still need to play out these games, and of course, a lot can happen in the 1 week now between, being tied for the 3rd wildcard spot now and final series of the season. Detroit has White Sox, you have Baltimore. You have one of the best teams in the AL, and Detroit has one of the worst. If you guys split these next 2 series, 4-2, 3-3, whatever, and we come next week to Friday, I'm going to be sitting here talking about, hey, Minnesota, good luck. Or even if Seattle or Boston had come in the way of this. But, I mean, Detroit having the season, potentially playoff ending, they could be making playoffs because of the Chicago White Sox and how atrocious their season has been. Of course, the White Sox, would they be trying to avoid making a fool of themselves and not become the worst baseball team in the history with the most losses ever? I mean, maybe. I don't know what their plan is here. They need to win 4 games to get to 40. They're 3 games away from 120 losses. They're 52.5 back of the division. So is there pride? I don't think so. I think they're just trying to get through the season. But yeah, I'd be worried right now if I was Minnesota, Seattle. What do you guys have left to play? And of course, Boston, I mean, you're 4 games out. If you want any hope at a wild card and a postseason run, you have, and I say have, to sweep the Twins. Not just take 2 of 3. There is 9 games left and you're 4 games out. You have to sweep the Twins. There is no buts about that. So, we have mentioned the 4 teams that have clinched. We have not mentioned the 3 teams that got eliminated this past week, all from the NL side. Pirates, Giants, and Reds will all say goodbye to their playoff chances. Giants season kind of got ruined by injury and some underperformances. Of course, remember Jung-Ho Lee got hurt at the beginning of the season and was out for the year. Reds and Pirates still very similar in terms of, hey, fun teams, fun players on those teams, just missing some pieces and need to get things clicking. Of course, the Pirates, for the longest time, looked like they were going to compete for a wild card potentially and had things clicking with Paul Skeens, getting called up the way he was pitching. But then they went on that 10-game losing streak and, all hope for the Pirates fell down the drain and their season was not right then. They also kind of had that in 2023. Why did I say 2021 there? It's 2 years difference. But of course, the Pirates obviously weren't going to hold that up. They were only the best team in baseball for a month. Once May hit, they fell apart. But at least this time, they kind of made it to June, July-ish. So hopefully next year they'll be able to make it the full 6 months. But, Pirates are not far out, and neither are the Reds. Bunch of fun teams, just better teams. And in baseball, that's kind of how it goes. 12 teams make it. 18 teams don't, and you just don't want to be one of those 18. And unfortunately for these 3, they are one this year. I want to quickly go over the biggest series remaining. So I took a look at the remaining 3 games, 3 series for each team, and kind of want to make a highlighted point here just in case you're trying to check out the big games for the playoff implications. The 4 series this week that I think are the biggest to play for: Tigers at Orioles, Twins at Red Sox. We talked about that already. Phillies at Mets, the big one, and then the D-backs at the Brewers. The Brewers don't really have much to play for except for positioning seeding. So, I mean, that's kind of big for them because why be the 3 seed and have to face a wild card that they got limited to the Diamondbacks last year, when they can pass either the Phillies or Dodgers and get a first-round bye. Of course, we've seen the Dodgers and Braves struggle with the first-round bye sometimes. So, it to each their own, but we'll see how the Brewers want to play it. But those are the 4 games this weekend that I think are the most important. Then you have kind of the big one, and this is the last week of baseball, essentially, the weekdays. you have Padres at Dodgers. And while, yes, the Dodgers have a 4-game series lead, you know, the Padres sweep that series. It's a 1-game difference, and that's just one of 6 games that the Padres need to win and have the Dodgers lose. So there is a lot to play for that series. The Mariners and the Astros, if the Mariners want any chance of the division, it's sweep the Astros that week. So you don't know there. You have the O's and the Yankees, and while the Yankees have built up a 4-game lead over the last 2 weeks here, a Baltimore sweep, and they're right back in it as well. And then, of course, Mets and Braves. It's looking like one of these 2 teams will miss the postseason unless the D-backs falter in the last stretch here. But yeah, the Braves and Mets are the last 2 teams competing for that 3rd wildcard spot. Mets now have a 2-game series lead, but if the Braves sweep their home, they would have a 1-game lead. So those 4 series are the biggest series remaining. The week there, the Monday through Thursday, whatever days they're playing, because obviously they would have one off day each. Those are the biggest series remaining. Those 4 in division, for division leads. Yankees, O's for the division, Padres, Dodgers for the division, Mariners, Astros for the division, Mets, Braves for playoffs, so all of which very important. And that takes you to the final weekend of baseball next week. And while obviously there would be important series based off of Twins need this from against Baltimore, while White Sox need this against the Tigers, blah 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 blah. The one series that I think matters the most out of all of them, just from sitting here already looking at it, Padres and D-backs. For the longest time, Padres and D-backs have both held the 4th and 5th seed of the postseason on the NL side, the 1st and 2nd wildcard seeds, and they've been interchangeable since. Sometimes the D-backs have been the 1st seed, sometimes the Padres have been the 1st seed. Right now, it's the Padres who are in the lead. That series is in Arizona, but it's most likely 3 games against, them in Arizona, and then another 3-game series, a wild card series. So, the Padres and D-backs might play each other 6 times, potentially 5 or 6 times from that point on. So, how you face each other in that series determines how well you might face each other in the wild card series. So that series is going to matter big time, especially if we get to that series and we're like, yeah, the Padres and D-backs matchup is already locked in. Like, let's see what they end up doing, because they're going to face each other for actual playoff implications the same week, So, those are the 9 big series remaining. Keep your eyes out on that. Want to touch upon that really quickly here and kind of just give you some thoughts and some takes and updates here. But we're already running long here, so I want to just try to bust through some of the news here. Just kind of big things I want to talk about in terms of, for me. Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first player this season with 200-plus hits. Not only that, but this week he also joined the 30-30 club again, his 30th home run of the season. He's the first shortstop ever in MLB history to have multiple 30-30 seasons. That's how good he has been. And remember, he's only, 2-3 years into his big league career. So Bobby Witt Jr. is a stud, and congrats for him. Luis Arraez, he's done it. He has struck out for a 3rd time since the All-Star break. His first strikeout since August 10th. It came against the Astros starter Spencer Arrighetti. I believe it was him, unless I mixed up him and another Astros pitcher, but I believe it was Arrighetti. That's 141 straight plate appearances for Luis Arraez without a strikeout. He is most likely to become the 2nd player with 200 hits. I think he's like 6 out. And then Vladdy, I think, is 3rd in MLB with hits. So those are your guys right there. And the last bit of news here to talk about, Craig Kimbrel with Baltimore. He was DFA'd. I was shocked by this news until I actually pulled up his numbers, and I'm thinking, yeah, it kind of makes sense. This is kind of the worst season of his career. He got signed to be the closer for Baltimore after Felix Bautista. We knew about his not being able to pitch this year. In 57 games with Baltimore, he has a 5.33 ERA. That's his worst ERA since 2021. after getting traded from one Chicago team to the other Chicago team. That's really funny to me, actually. In 2021, the Cubs had Kimbrel. The Cubs had Kimbrel since 2019, and he had struggled. Kimbrel had a 6.53 ERA with the Cubs in 2019 and a 5.28 ERA in 2020. Of course, these were limited games because one was coming back from injury and one was obviously COVID. And then in 2021, he kind of figured it out. In 39 appearances with the Cubs, he had a 0.49. He had only given up 2 earned runs and 1 home run. He was fantastic for the Cubs. So good that they dealt him to the White Sox, where in 24 appearances, he had a 5.09 ERA. So, yeah. 5.33 this year with Baltimore. He's given up 7 home runs, 31 earned runs. He's been kind of a liability. And Baltimore, kind of coming down to the end here, decided to make some big names and big moves. And kind of that's a big one. Kimbrel's going to be a Hall of Fame closer. He's been amazing, with Atlanta, with Boston, with the Cubs even that one year. Even the Dodgers last year was pretty good and solid. So, definitely a head scratcher a little bit, but obviously when you look at his numbers, you can see where Baltimore's coming from. A bullpen can make or break a team in a postseason. We've seen that before plenty of times, with the Cubs in 2016. Getting Aroldis Chapman at the deadline kind of saved them and kind of helped them get the World Series win. We've also seen him give up clutch home runs to Tampa, clutch home runs to Houston that have eliminated the Yankees. So, it's very hit or miss. A big part of the postseason will come down to pitching and specifically your bullpen. And if Kimbrel's going to be the guy kind of coming in the 8th, 9th inning, giving up, 2-run home runs, and that could lose a game for Baltimore. So something to just keep your ears and eyes out for there. Kimbrel DFA'd by Baltimore. All right, now let's get through the remaining stuff here. Injury updates. Bo Bichette, he finally came back from injury, played 1 game, and now has a right middle finger fracture. He's done for the year. Blue Jays sent him on the 10-day IL. Steven Kwan, back inflammation, and Dalton Varsho, strained shoulder. Both ended up on the IL as well. This was a couple days ago, I think beginning of the week, so they should be able to come back for that last series, maybe 1 or 2 games. Of course, Varsho would have maybe 1 or 2 games, and that's it. Kwan would be back for the Guardians' postseason run as well. So those are your injury updates. For outstanding performances, we've got quite the list, so I'm going to spitfire them. Buckle up and get ready for that. Shohei 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 6 Ks. Jake Irvin, 7.1 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 5 Ks. Paul Skeens, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 7 Ks. Shota Amanaga, 2 rookies back-to-back right now, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, and 11 Ks, a career high for Shota. Andre Palente from the Cardinals, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 9 Ks. Yu Darvish, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 3 Ks. I found out he's only 6 strikeouts away from being the first Japanese pitcher in MLB history with 2,000 strikeouts. Go get them, Darvish. Blake Snell continues his amazing second half. 6 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 12 strikeouts for him. Cole Reagan's a great start, but not enough for the Royals. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 4 walks, and 6 Ks. The bullpen in the end blows it for the Royals. Zach Wheeler, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and 6 Ks. Great stuff there. Eduardo Rodriguez, 6.1 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 11 strikeouts. Ryan Pepio, he had an immaculate inning in this start. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and 12 strikeouts. The strikeout numbers are up this week for sure. Framber Valdez, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 6 Ks. Of course, that earned run was the Manny Machado home run, and as soon as he got taken out, back-to-back-to-back home runs. Dylan Cease was his opponent, and he was even better, shutting out Houston. 8.1 innings pitched, nearly a complete game shutout. 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, walks and 5 strikeouts. He's been phenomenal. Jose Quintana has also been phenomenal. Him and Sean Manaea has kind of been the backbone of that Mets rotation this season. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. Cody Bradford with Texas, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 6 Ks. And lastly, Aaron Nola, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 9 Ks for him. What a start. And that is your outstanding performances. Now, a live look at the stat leaderboard here for this season. Not too many changes. Bobby Witt still leads in average, now at 331. He leads in hits at 201. Aaron Judge finally has some home runs this week. He adds 2, so he's now at 53 on the season with 136 RBIs. Bobby Witt Jr. is still leading in runs, yet Ohtani is hot on his trail. He's got 124 to Ohtani's 123. Bobby Witt doing it still. Walks. It always seems like Soto is 1 walk behind Aaron Judge. Soto's at 124. Judge is at 125. Elliott did not steal a base this week, but he's still at 64 and leads the league comfortably. Aaron Judge at OPS 1.142. For the pitching, we've had a lot of ties recently. Chris Sale, Tarek Skubal, Seth Lugo. But now it is Chris Sale and Chris Sale alone. He leads in wins with 18. He leads in ERA with 2.38. And he leads in strikeouts with 2.25. Move out of the way, Skubal. Move out of the way, Lugo. Move out of the way, Dylan Cease. It is Chris Sale's Cy Young to lose. And in saves, Ryan Helsley has been leading it for the longest time, whether he's been leading it alone or tied with Emmanuel Clase. But now at the end of the season, it's no longer the case. Emmanuel Clase leads the league in saves. So the first time this season, he is in sole possession of that record. 46 record, that stat. 46 saves for Emmanuel Clase. He is now leading the league, so good stuff there. And Ryan Helsley, go get it back. The upcoming series, we've mentioned some of them, the big ones for certain. But of course, across the league, we got the Blue Jays in Tampa taking on the Rays. Twins and Red Sox, that's a big one for both teams. Tigers at Oilers, that's a big one for both teams. Giants at Royals, that's a big one for one team. Yankees at A's, a big one for one team. Angels at Astros, a big one for one team. Mariners at Rangers, a big one for one team. Braves at Marlins, a big one for one team. Phillies at Mets, that's a big one entirely for 2 teams there. Nationals and Cubs, not a big one. Pirates at Reds, not a big one. Guardians at Cardinals, kind of a big one for one team. D-backs at Brewers, that's a big one for both teams. That's one highlighted. Rockies and Dodgers, and White Sox at Padres. Of course, Dodgers, Padres, big ones for them. Rockies, White Sox, 2 of the worst teams. Yada, yada, yada. After spitting fire through some of this stuff here now, let's take a look at the magic numbers for the rest of the season. As mentioned, Guardians and Reds, 8 games to play. The rest have 9, 3 series to go. In the AL, Baltimore's number to clinch is 4. Astros' number to clinch is 5. Royals' number to clinch is 7. And then the Twins/Tigers' number to clinch is 9. Taking a look at losing numbers, Blue Jays and Rangers just finished up a 3-game series. Their losing numbers are both 2, followed up by the Rays, who are at 5, Red Sox at 6, and Mariners at 7. And now we're doing an even deeper dive for the divisions. Yankees have clinched. Their magic number for the division is 6. Guardians have clinched. Their magic number for the division is 3. And then the Astros, like their magic number to clinch entirely, they're also clinching the division with 5 games as well. So that's the AL magic numbers. The NL magic numbers, Phillies clinch with 1 win against the Mets, or a Braves loss. So Phillies 1 is their magic number there. Padres magic number is 5 for the Padres. D-backs at 7, Mets at 7, and the Braves are at 9. The reason the Braves still have a clinching number and a magic number is because of that 3-game series with the Mets. So they still technically have a winning number despite not being in the playoff picture right now. Taking a look at the losing numbers, Cardinals, it's 2. Braves is 8. Cubs is 2. I don't know why I said that out of order. Cardinals and Cubs with 2. So, I mean, we're talking about a Mets win and both of these teams losing, and they both get eliminated same time, same place. So, there you go. And the Braves, like I said, magic number 9. Losing number is 8. So, some stuff there for Atlanta. A deep dive in the divisions. The Brewers have already locked up the NL Central. The Phillies need 1 to clinch postseason, but 4 to clinch the East. And of course, the Dodgers, who have already clinched postseason, still need 6 to lock up the division. Padres still on their trails. But that will wrap up that. Last thing to do here, as we get close to the 50-minute mark here, the playoff predictions for Predictor for the postseason, if it started today. Of course, Twins and Tigers currently tied for the 3rd seed, but as mentioned, the Twins have the tiebreaker, so I'm going to give it to Minnesota. Sorry, Detroit, you're still not there, but try to be in there come Friday next week. Twins at Astros, Royals at Oilers. Astros beat the Twins. Oilers beat the Royals. ALDS matchup, Astros at Guardians, Oilers at Yankees. It's the top 2 teams, the byes, Guardians and Yankees in the ALCS matchup, and Cleveland takes down New York. So the Guardians are off to the World Series. Mets and Brewers, D-backs at Padres for your wild card. Brewers beat the Mets. D-backs get the Padres. So we have an NLCS matchup between the Brewers and Dodgers, D-backs and Phillies. Dodgers beat the Brewers. Phillies beat the D-backs, so the NLCS is Phillies, Dodgers, 2 top teams, and led by Ohtani. The Dodgers head to the World Series. Guardians and Dodgers. Who is going to win it? It would be the Los Angeles Dodgers, 2024 champions, if the postseason started today. Ladies and gentlemen, what an episode. Thank you, everybody, so much for sticking with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. A long one, yes, but well worth it, I hope. Baseball in full swing. 3 series to go. 9 games for most teams. 8 for the Ohio teams. And 8 spots still on the table to grab for certain teams. And while most of the postseason picture I feel like is set on the NL side in terms of teams, you just have the Braves and Mets fighting for one. That 3rd wild card seed, and potentially even the 2nd wild card seed, the way the Royals have been playing recently, still up for grabs. And like I said, with less than 10 games, not a lot of time left. I'm not going to talk anymore. Thank you, buddy, so much, and I will see you on Monday.